So I grew up in Edmonton, Alberta. My mom and my sister, my dad left when we were 3, so it was a single parent family. My mom also had another daughter from another relationship, and that daughter was taken when she was 6, moved to Pittsburgh. My mom tried to get her back for years, but wasn't able to, and so because of that, we lived a very secluded life. We weren't allowed to go out, have friends, have parties. We also didn't have money. We were very, very broke. We were on welfare for our whole life. My mom had epilepsy, grand mal seizures, which are the worst kind you can have. And after she would have this dysphoria, she wouldn't really know who we were. And things would happen to us, physical and verbal abuse after a seizure. And there was times where she would have anywhere between 2 and 5 seizures in a day. And after each seizure, we would experience abuse.
I had both parents in the home. My dad provided well for our family. I had 2 half-siblings that lived with us when I was very young. From the outside, I would say our family looked like we had it all together. Jesus definitely was not a part of my upbringing. Behind the scenes, what most people didn't know, my dad was a functioning alcoholic, so we had everything we needed, but there was a lot of verbal and emotional abuse, and we just kind of had a sense that we had to, keep things together, don't rock the boat, and definitely don't mess up or we would pay a price.
We did have the Bible in our life when we were growing up. We would get the Bible read to us every day, and she would read the Bible, but then also abuse us after. So there was a confusion with how God played into our lives because, everything we attached to the Bible, the only verse that we would really attach to would be spare the rod, spoil the child, because that was sort of the go-to verse.
I've taught about God a little bit, but definitely wasn't a huge part of my upbringing at all.
My mom couldn't hurt me at church. When we'd go to church, we would put on the show as like everything was fine. It felt good. And I knew that I wanted more of that. And then when I was 18, my mom died while I was giving her CPR. She had a seizure and she kind of swallowed her tongue, and I didn't know that. And her lips were blue. I was trying to help her breathe and I couldn't. And I got mad at God. I'll be honest. I turned my back on God and I yelled at him in the church for taking her away and leaving me with nothing, because I literally had nothing. Some of the choices I made, after Mom died were not great choices. The relationships that I had with women were pretty dysfunctional because I didn't know what a good relationship looked like. I never saw one. And through that, created a lot of mistrust. And then I came on a vacation to Reno, Nevada, and I was at a New Year's party. And then that's when I met her.
In our time being engaged, there was turbulence, there was insecurity, there was pride. I was very prideful and hyper-independent, and with everything Rob experienced as a child, he was just seeking love and affirmation, and I had a hard time receiving that he needed that from me. We did get married. We had a beautiful wedding. We have our first son, and around that time, Rob had found his half-sister. I viewed our marriage as like an accessory to my life. It definitely wasn't. It was optional. So I was very hyper-independent, and I killed the intimacy in our marriage every chance I got. So when he got to have intimacy with his sister, and they could come together over something that a lot of people don't experience, and they both had a lot of pain and a lot of hurt, they could come together in a way that was very special.
My wife and I, because we had always been so separate and she was always so strong, I never felt that she needed me because she didn't at that time. And this other woman did. It happened to be my sister. So I sought that acceptance because I felt loved, I felt accepted, and I felt needed.
So here I am pushing Rob away with all my pride and my self-reliance. And then when I see him have an intimate relationship with his sister, I really want that, but I don't know how to have it. And I've been pushing it away the entire time we've been together. And from that stemmed the bitterness, the anger. I can't do this anymore. I can't be married to you anymore. I felt abandoned when we had our child. I felt like he abandoned me for her, and that he was placing priority for his sister and her needs over my needs and our baby's needs. It just all came crashing down, and I was like, I can't, I'm just too mad. I can't get over this.
I had gone through my wife's phone, and I saw some messages that I probably shouldn't have read. It just made me feel less valuable as a person. And I was losing my job at the same time. Someone had stole a bunch of things from my store, and I was managing 2 stores. And I was being questioned as if I did it, and I didn't do it. And so I'm losing my job, and all I can picture is my childhood creeping back up on me and ruining my life. So I went home. Her mom had been visiting. I decided to reread the messages that I had seen over and over again. And then I kissed my son on the head, and he was going to see his mom at work. And I said, take care of your mom. I love you. And then I grabbed my gun and I sat in the shower. And I said, God, if this isn't what you want from me, then something should probably happen right now. I put the gun in my mouth and I went to pull the trigger. And at that same moment, my older sister, half-sister, called me on FaceTime. I stared at the phone, debating whether or not I was going to continue squeezing or answer the phone. And so I answered the phone, and I was crying. And my sister said, what is going on? Why? I just felt I had to call you. Why? What is happening? And then I flipped the camera, and I showed her the gun on the shower floor. And she said, please don't do this. There were some phone calls made, and a friend came and he's like, where's the gun? And he took the gun. I went and stayed at his house. My wife had been going to church, or had started to go to church kind of around that moment, and I moved out. I wrote her a 6-page letter of all of the apologies for not being there, and I just gave her the validation she'd been seeking, because she was feeling these resentments and hurt. And I knew that I didn't own up to it.
So when he came back from Pittsburgh, he says, can I go to church with you? And I'm still thinking, in my pride, fine, what good is that gonna do? Yeah, you can come with me. But I still was not feeling it at all. So we go to church, and Rob responds to the altar call, because that message at church that day was like God talking to Rob one-on-one personally. And I knew it. And I was so excited when he responded. And that was when we went from probably our darkest moment as a married couple up to that point to really stepping into an amazing transformation.
So we got plugged into the church pretty quickly. I started serving on the production team, and my wife was serving on the prayer team, and we just got plugged in. We just got strong. And it wasn't until I went to Encounter that, and God's not done with me yet, but when I went to Encounter, I went there with I've been through a lot. I don't really know what else I'm going to go through here. Like, how is anything here going to help me? I believe in God. He's my Savior. I love God. I serve God. But I still didn't feel worthy of love and acceptance. And here I am at Encounter.
God's promises are true, whether we feel like it or not. God is in control, whether we feel like it or not.
You gotta let God in
And
so that He can show you the lies that you've believed and show you that the hurt that you've been carrying, you don't have to carry anymore. The more I drew towards God, the more He drew towards me. And there's still moments when I need to get on my knees and pray, and and pride kicks in. I need to work on that. And I'm still gonna work on that. And me and God are, we got this thing going here.
freedom for me is really letting God carry the burden that He says He wants to. When Jesus says, "Come to me, all you who are weary and heavy burden," there's so much freedom for me in that we weren't meant to take this up. We weren't meant to carry it on our own. My pride has tried to convince me of that my whole life, that, I can handle this. I can do it. I can do it. I don't need help. And so there's that freedom in, He is the help. His promises are good, and we can trust Him. And there's a lot of freedom in trusting the Lord and who He is for me.
Freedom, that's a strong word, because I felt freedom when I was able to take all of these pains that I've had in my life and nail them to a cross, and then be forgiven.
He is the only hope. He's the only way. He's the only one in control, regardless of our circumstances and how they look through human eyes. He is it.